Are you a video blogger, podcaster, or other type of professional who creates information products to promote your business? Hi, I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. Many copywriters produce scripts for videos. They also produce videos to promote their own work. They do webinars, seminars, and other events. And then they produce content to deliver online to do all kinds of things. Content is incredible for promoting your business, for generating customers, for even creating information products that can be an additional revenue source. But one of the biggest challenges we have is the perception that video editing is very easy to do. I mean, every Apple computer has GarageBand, every Apple computer has some movie studio or something like that. But the fact of the matter is, if you're a consultant, business development professional, copywriter, or some other service professional, your time is money when it comes to producing, editing, and delivering video. And in fact, that's a secondary thing in your business. For example, you wouldn't write a sales letter, manufacture the paper to do so, then create a print shop and print the letter, and then your own postal company to deliver it. You just basically type up the materials, lay it out, and send it to a mail shop, and they send it out for you. You wouldn't create your own advertising network just so you can promote your business. You go to Facebook or Google or some other platform and just use the platform. And you can agree to this because it's time consuming. There's a lot of risk involved. Then again, we have a lot of marketers that are simply taking a picture of themselves. They're simply videotaping a customer. They're simply doing a selfie, and they then spend hours and hours and hours editing it into something useful for their website. Now, those are a very few of those people, because most people do like I did for many years, and they collect 100 gigabytes of video, audio, and other materials that have only been seen by the person in the meeting or have otherwise only been seen for this one specific customer. Well, there's a big opportunity here. If you're a copywriter and you want to get to the next level and you want to earn more, if you are a marketing agency and you want to earn more, you can transform this captured artifact, this report, this teleseminar or webinar event, and you can actually turn it into a project. So what we'll talk about today in today's podcast for Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips is we're going to talk about some of the editorial process, because what I've developed over the years and working with other organizations and hiring video editors and audio editing people is a workflow that works very well to do video. First off, a lot of folks will do video or audio as a spur-of-the-moment, one-time thing. So I'm created a podcast right here. I've got an outline in front of me, and I'm creating for you a presentation that's going to deliver 3 specific tips about improving your video, your editorial, or your audio workflow. My objective for you is that you'll be able to do this faster, whether you do it yourself or you have another group do it. But ultimately, there is some value in you listening. Well, if I simply just set up a camera and started talking, I might get a video done, and I may get it online. Like Russell Brunson, for example, tells you just do a video a day and live stream it and just start building up your audience. Cover one topic every day for 30 days and just see which topics are popular. Well, I personally, because I'm already earning money in a business, I already have private clients, I already have a marketing program in place that creates new customers, it is a complete waste of time for me to be on the screen talking to you live when I don't need additional clients. And the same thing is likely for you if you're a high-income professional and you're a high-income entrepreneur. Your time is money. So what do we got to do? Well, we've got to use an editorial process that allows you to produce materials based on a foundation, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But as you produce those materials go off, get processed, get a review copy to you, they get posted, and it's just going. Frank Kern doesn't sit down and set up a spur-of-the-moment webinar and try to sell you product. He plans that. Initially, he may have a sales letter. He may have a development team that puts all that together. And even though it looks like he's just sitting down, having a conversation with you as best buds, and now I'm going to introduce to you such and such a product, it doesn't really work that way. That studio, that camera setup, everything has to be done. And if you're the high-income professional or you're the principal in the organization, I'm going to show you why you cannot afford to do that yourself. Now, a lot of folks will go to a studio. A lot of folks will have a studio set up. Let's get right back to that process. Before you start recording, you need to have a sales letter complete. You need to have your lead sequences complete. You need to have somewhere to send that prospect. Now, you could have done the presentation 100 times already, and now you can just pick up the phone and start talking. Maybe you're being interviewed on someone else's podcast, or there's a reporter who's called you, or it's the other end of a public relations campaign where now you're having a one-on-one with leads. Yet every top producer has shown, from Zig Ziglar to Dan Kennedy, that preparing for your sales presentation puts you in a better position than just throwing it off the cuff. You can have a conversation with somebody off the cuff, but if you don't have your homework in place. Now, again, I have an outline here, which is a summary of about an 8 to 9 page special report. Now, yes, the special report is handwritten, and I hand wrote it out earlier today, and the topic is fresh in mind. But I'm still following an outline to deliver to you this podcast. I'm recording the podcast directly into a platform that allows me to save a draft. So I can save a draft. I can have my assistant come back later and clean up the title, description. Actually, the assistant does a little copywriting. I can give them the copy of the report. I can give them a copy of the recording, and they can clean up that first draft when it comes to the title, description, landing page, show notes, and other materials that are required in order to have this media do something useful in the marketplace. Now, I know you've been told simply just do some live chats, but after the third or fourth live chat with nobody there, you might want to leverage the things that we offer to our customers, which is a marketing campaign. And yes, I know when you're busy working with customers, you don't have time to do a lot of your own marketing campaigns. I've had the same damn problem. Like I said, I have 100 gigabytes of video and materials together. Me and my son's getting interested in video editing, and that's probably the only reason that I'm going to start taking some of these library materials and start putting them out in front of customers, package them into product, and otherwise turn it into intellectual property with a continued income stream. But in the past, what I would do is I would record, and then I'd send to my assistant to put a cover letter on it, to burn it to a CD. Yes, this was back in the 90s. They would burn the audio to a CD or put it on a disc, and then they would turn around and send it to the customer. So if a customer and I had a consultation, I might, after the consultation, just go over the 15 things that I think were key points of the meeting. So I have my notes in front of me from the meeting, and then I might go through the 15 things that were key to that presentation. I'd go through it in a narrative format, because very often my customer was having me do this so that they could then give the audio to their employees, and the employees would listen to the audio and then just start working on the challenge. So I'd have a strategy session with the principal. I'd do a narrative presentation associated to the notes that we took, and then they would immediately, within a day or so, start giving that to the team, and it also provided them a refresher. My notes in this audio would go to my team, my staff, and a writer would take the notes and take the audio and turn it into a special report. I would also be building out my report of findings and then do some more research and discovery work with my client. That would then come along and be added to the narrative work that was put together by my staff, or the transcription of the program that I did. I would then give the procedurals and the research material, and here's what I found, and here's the plan of action for the client, and all that would get packaged up, put in a binder, and put some CDs in it and send it to a customer. The customer would pay me 5 figures for this, and I would be very, very happy. But again, I was only doing it once. So you might be saying, well, that sounds like a lot of effort, Justin. It sounds like a lot of steps. It sounds like, because you're working with a team, that there could be a lot of problems along the way. And you might be saying, well, I'd just rather do it myself. Well, here's the problem with doing it yourself. If you are meeting with a client and doing a discovery meeting, and then based on the discovery meeting, they've accepted your proposal, and now you're doing work for the client. If you've got to stop doing work for the client to go set up a transcription, to go edit an audio program, to do sound, cleaning up the sound and background noise, if you've got to do the coloration of the video because the lighting wasn't just right, if you've got to go re-record sections of the video or parts that you missed out from your notes, all this is a lot of administrative overhead that takes you away from the billable hours of being with your client. Now, I'm completely against trading hours for dollars, and because that's what I did early in my career. I'd go through and create this report one time, and then that report would go on a shelf after the customer has paid for it. I did eventually have enough sense to keep the rights to the report, so I maintained rights to the intellectual property. So if I was writing a business development plan for a government contractor, I did maintain the rights to the same business development plan for a government contractor. And then I did figure out eventually that I could sell that same business plan again to a non-competing government contractor. And then I could also sell services on top of it that would allow me to help them implement the plan. So I just naturally didn't have time to do spell checking. I didn't have time to make sure the audio was perfect. I didn't have time to set up a studio. In fact, many of these recordings were done in my car traveling. Now, this was long before podcasting and other types of work. And while I did send CDs to customers with my prospect newsletter, I did not realize the potential of what this was. So I went through a series of trying to edit this myself. I think I've used Sony Acid, Sony Vega. Hey folks, listen, the phone keeps ringing off the hook here, and usually people don't have my direct number, but these are actually private clients that want to do some stuff. But let me just summarize what we're talking about here. If you are doing the video editing and creating your own podcasts and developing your own information products from scratch, there are a lot of things that get in the way of getting that done. So you can have an idea, you can frame out the idea, but without a process in place, such as the editorial process that we're talking about here or an editorial workflow, you very often can get stuck doing all this yourself. There's also the good enough is good enough factor. Jeff Paul talked about it in a lot of his programs, is that you just kind of got to get something across the finish line as a first draft, because otherwise it'll never be good enough to put out into public. Every product I've created, every report I've created, every package, 5-figure package I put together for a client, if there wasn't some kind of follow-up service for that, there would be so many gaps in those reports that it would be ridiculous. And that's a lot of times because the materials are created in context of discovery meeting, but once you get in with the customer, you realize the customer wasn't quite aware of the challenges that they had, and that the customer didn't well, you know what I'm talking about. When they say, I need you to write me a sales letter, and you have the discovery meeting and realize they don't do any lead generation. They don't know who they'd send the sales letter to. There's no customer avatar. There's none of the pieces that are required in order to write a sales letter that'll do anything. But in the customer's mind, they believe that it would be so easy if they just had a sales letter, they would be making more sales and more business. We have the same problem as content creators, and I don't want to say content creator because that is a minimum wage job. You can hire somebody for minimum wage to go do the basic research, and we talked about this before. They can do the basic research that saves you a lot of time when it comes down to just writing copy that sells. Well, let's translate that into getting off of Facebook, getting off of these YouTube platforms, and getting in front of customers who are paying for your time, and then utilizing resources on the side that will go facilitate, like I described, where I can record 4 or 5 sessions at a time, and then staff just make the rest of it happen. I don't need to know how it works. I don't know how my cell phone works. I don't know how the car works. I just know how to make money for my clients. So if you're interested in this topic of your workflow, specifically the rough cut video part where you've knocked out a bunch of video. I hear a lot of people complaining about it's how difficult it is to do video when you've got actual customers. Well, Ask those questions. You'll find a link below. You can visit us at www.adbriefings.co.uk and just simply open a help desk ticket and ask your question. This particular program is O0104A, and you can ask about the collaborative editing when you have more than one person working together to create a sales letter or a special report or other types of materials. If you're building any of Jeff Walker's product launch formulas, you're going to have multiple videos. Well, do you shoot them each day or do you shoot a bunch of videos? You might have heard terminologies like bumps or intros, outros. Do you record a library of those or do you just kind of produce them as you go? You may have seen Dan Kennedy's videos that are very homely, and Bob Bly has another set of homely videos. Are those videos as effective as Jeff Walker's and Eben Pagan's videos that are very clean and nice looking? Well, you'd be shocked. Very often the authentic little rough video is more credible to audiences with money versus just mass audiences. But my underlying point here is that if you're trying to do all the work yourself, you're missing out on huge opportunities to grow the top line revenue of your business while reducing underlying costs so that you have an overall more profitable customer. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips, here to help you create and keep profitable customers using words that sell. And you can visit us at www.adbriefings.co.uk.